Good morning. It's Wednesday, all day, and you are watching Ask a Traffic Cop. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. I go onto social media to answer your traffic and police questions, and that's what I'm going to do right now. We have different ways that you can access us so you can ask us questions. If you're on TikTok, the big platform, I say the big because we have almost 600,000 followers on that platform. Thank you to everyone who follows us. And you can get us on the Q&A functionality. Hit that button so you can ask a question. We'll put it on screen. We'll answer it. We're, of course, also on almost every other platform. So if you're on, Instagram, you can use the Q&A bubble. If you're on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, or Facebook, just make a comment in the chat area there. It'll come into a single stream of consciousness that we can respond to. And if you are on Twitter, my apologies, it doesn't work. You can see us, but we can't see you. We would invite you to go to the Linktree link in the bio. You can jump onto any one of our other platforms and join us where you can ask questions because we care. We want to get your questions. And that means you can't be on Twitter. But I have faith that one day Twitter will once again work. And, who knows? At least before I retire, it'll function properly. It used to work. When Periscope worked, it worked. And then they changed something and it stopped working. What do we got here? We got a question. No, it says no questions. I see a button that says questions, and then it says no questions. Maybe they deleted their question. Okay, let's talk. But we're gonna do the Q&A thing. We are also going to do a quick thing where I say, Vision Zero Enforcement Team. Where are they today? Well, I'm about to tell you. Vision Zero Enforcement Team is a group of dedicated officers that go out each and every day to change driver behavior. They look for people who are choosing to speed, choosing to drive aggressively, choosing to drive distracted, and of course, those who choose to drive impaired. I notice I say choose because those are choices. People get behind the wheel and do things that increase the risk to pedestrians, to vulnerable road users, to other drivers. They're making bad choices. What the hope is the ticket issued by a VZ officer or any officer from the Toronto Police or any police service anywhere is to change their behavior. It shouldn't be a fun experience. They shouldn't go away happy. They should be unhappy. It should weigh on them heavily, and it should motivate them to do the right thing going forward. That's what a ticket's for. It's not a cash grab, which is something I see in the comments all the time. It's not about the money. We got other ways to make money. We can do a food drive. I don't know, we can do things. And to be quite frank, I'd rather go to Timmy's and have a coffee than have to stand on a corner in the cold and enforce traffic laws because people are choosing to make the roads unsafe. Just saying, take a break and wait for a radio call. But that's not what we get to do. We get out there and we make a difference one ticket at a time. Keenan says, would you know my father is a homicide detective? It's possible, but I don't know if I know your father who's a homicide detective. But you should probably DM me as opposed to send me a message. I won't put you on screen because I don't want to share your info. What's your favorite street in Ontario? I think Yonge Street is the de facto answer I have to use. What is your biggest fear when patrolling? I don't have a biggest fear when patrolling. I'm not currently patrolling. I'm actually an office guy now because I was injured in a motorcycle crash. And a motorcycle crash wasn't my biggest fear until it happened. Then it was not as much fun as you'd think. Flying is interesting, but landing, not so good. But no, there's no fear. Every day's an adventure. It was always a good day and meeting new people and doing new things. Obviously, you don't want to deal with kids that are hurt, kids that and actually any fatality is not a fun day. But you do what you got to do because that's the job. Speaking of the job, we are currently hiring. We're hiring for so many different positions. We have communication operators, special constables. We have police constable positions. We have some IT positions. You got to go to www.tps.ca/careers. That's tps.ca/careers. All the postings are there. You should consider it. If you're looking for a fantastic career, if you're looking for a career with many different jobs, because as many of my regular viewers know, I started as a volunteer. I became a court officer, special constable. I did that for many years and then transitioned to police officer where I've been for 10 years and love it. 22 years with the service. I don't regret a thing other than not having joined earlier. So don't wait. Don't waste time. Now is a good time to apply if this is what you want to do. If you don't want to do this job, then don't do it because it's not for everybody. This is a calling. This is a way of life. It's not just something where you punch a clock and go home and forget about it. This is all the time. Thoughts on Australia? I love Australia. I have family in Australia, but I don't know what thoughts you're asking about because I haven't watched the news. So if there's something going on, I don't know. What do we have here? If I see someone run a red light, can I call 911? running a red light, as much as it is a horrible thing to do and it increases risk to everybody, and obviously it could be fatal. You kill people by running red lights. It's not a 911 call, because by the time we get there, they're going to have run another light somewhere else. If you think they're impaired, if you think they're a danger, and they're continuing that kind of driver behavior, and so they could be drunk, they could have having a medical episode, yeah, you could call 911 for that reason. Not just because of the red light, though. It has to be sort of a higher bar than just being a horrible driver. But again, it's going to be your considering the facts. Is it a one-off? Is it something where it's going to continue to escalate? You got to make that call. You can call 911, but I don't know if that makes that threshold. Tint limits on a 2017 Toyota Camry. Well, here's the deal. It's not based on make and model. It's based on year of manufacture. A 2017 means you're under the current laws. You can have no more than 30% light blockage on the windows left and right of the driver. You can have nothing at all, zero, zilch, nada, on the front windshield, and you can go as dark as you want on the rear windows, as long as you have proper functioning mirrors and such, because you have to be able to have a view to the back. Additionally, that's for safety registration of a vehicle, like for being able to pass a safety. If you have darker than that, you could lose your license plate. It could be considered a marked, an unsafe vehicle, and you can be sent for another inspection. However, if you're talking about the ticket under the Highway Traffic Act simply for having obscured the interior of your motor vehicle with a color or reflective coating, well, then it could be lighter tint that gets you a ticket there. So really, you cannot prevent police or public from seeing inside your vehicle. There's no reasonable expectation of privacy. You can't pick your nose behind a veil of dark tint. It's just not something that you're entitled to. So if we can't see you, if we can't see if you're wearing a seatbelt, if we can't see if you're using your phone, if a member of the public can't make eye contact with you, they can't identify who's behind the wheel, that is a ticket waiting to happen. You might get the one, you might get both. Akela Dracona's coming in by YouTube, says greetings and salutations. Jacob, I may have not acknowledged you yet, but Jacob says good morning and he's happy to be here. And then we've got our is that a goldfish emoji that came in from Twitch? But good morning to you. I don't know. I call you a moist or I don't know what username. You give me your name yesterday when you popped in, but I sadly I don't remember. Okay. Someone says, thoughts on false accusations. I don't know what the context of your question is, but obviously false accusations or allegations are false. So why would people make them? Just saying. What is the legal limit on front again? If you mean front windshield, it's nothing. If the vehicle is manufactured 2017 or newer, you can have no tint on the front windshield. If it's manufactured before 2017, being a 2016 or older, you can have a 3-inch, 75-millimeter sunstrip from the top of the window down to the PS1 line, or 3 inches, whatever happens first. What's the most common traffic violation? Well, the big four are the ones that are most often seen. That's your speed, distracted driving, aggressive driving, and impaired driving. Impaired driving, I wouldn't say is the most are high volume, but they're obviously the ones that are of high concern. Cell phone and speeding are probably the two biggest offenders. Speeding for sure. My drive to work is, as people pass me at Mach 3. Okay. Are EVs exempt from having a front license plate? No, they are not. Nobody is exempt from having a front license plate. However, many Tesla owners will tell you that the front license plate mount is apparently a two-sided tape situation, which is pretty sad because it's an awesome car other than that. Well, actually, apparently there's a number of issues there. But at the end of the day, you have to do it, whether it be a tow hook adapter mount or your two-sided tape situation or zip ties, however it is. Electric vehicles are obligated to display two plates in Ontario, just like every other vehicle. Is it true that only in Ontario can cross a double yellow line to pass slow traffic? So these are two different things. Passing traffic, crossing a line, and passing a vehicle, two separate sets of situations here. We have crossing the line itself is not a law under the HTA. So solid line is not enforceable for just crossing the line. But if you cross the line and pass a vehicle unsafely, that could be an unsafe movement. It could be all sorts of other charges. So it doesn't mean that you can just do what you want. It just means that there's no specific charge for crossing the line. When you talk about driving into oncoming traffic, or making an unsafe move, like these are separate situations. But other provinces do have laws preventing you from crossing a solid line. So that's it. Does anyone know what the difference between a white line and a yellow line is? Many people don't. Many people have a lot of assumptions, but don't know the actual deal. What is this here? Bree wants to know what the fine is for not switching lanes for stopped vehicles. I didn't know you were legally required to switch lanes for stopped vehicles. What do you mean? Like, you have to, I'm not picking up what you're putting down, Bree. My apologies. Is it legal to change from halogens to LED? My understanding is aftermarket ones are generally not permitted, but I don't know where in law that is, other than they tend to be poor manufactured replacements and don't meet the requirements, but I don't know what those are. So I've heard that, I've been told that. I would suggest not making that change, especially if it's one of these aftermarket bulbs that goes in and replaces it. I've been doing a lot of research for my own vehicle in terms of brake lights, and a lot of the delivery company distribution place that sells a lot of other people's products. A lot of the low-cost stuff coming from overseas is really poor quality and either flickers or gets hot and causes other problems. I bought one from an American manufacturer that has got good reviews. So if you're talking about just small bulb replacement, that is okay. If you're talking about projector bulbs for headlights, I would do your research and make sure that you're okay. I talked to a mechanic because they've got a lot to say about that. Why are winter tires not being told by police? I don't tell winter tires anything. What do you want me to tell them? And will they answer? We talk about winter tires. We talk about the benefits of winter tires. It's not a requirement under law in Ontario, so we don't tell people you have to do it because you don't have to do it. Is it a good idea? Does every traffic safety group on the planet that deals with snow say it's a good idea? Sure they do, because it is a good idea. The rubber compounds and tread patterns that are on winter tires are designed for colder weather and for getting through slush and snow. It's smart, but is it required? No. Many people, including myself, went many years with all seasons, but all seasons are actually most season tires, and are marketed as all seasons when they're not. I did hear from someone recently that there is a true all season tire, but there's only a few of them around, from what I'm told. Secondhand information. In Canada, what's the fine for going 50 over? Well, Cop 1059, let's talk about this. Stunt driving laws have changed recently, and I say recently being September 12, 2021, there was an adjustment. Now, prior to September 12th, there was it went in stages. So at the moment, as it stands, in Ontario, and every province is going to be different, I can only speak to Ontario, the rules are this. If you are doing 40 kilometers over or more in a speed area of where the speed limit is under 80 kilometers an hour, your stunt driving is 40 and above. If you are in an area with a speed limit over 80, it's 50 and above. If you are doing 150 anywhere, it's stunt driving. Now, stunt driving specifically has a range of fines from $2,000 to $10,000 for your first conviction and up to 6 months in jail. It also comes with a roadside suspension of 30 days on your license and a 14-day impound of your vehicle. So that is the deal for that offense. And how do I do this? I'll follow you so we can chat about it if you have questions. You've requested to follow this private account. Okay, I've done that. So feel free to reach out and we can talk about it more. Where are you out of, by the way? Curious. I'm assuming you're in the States because you're not in Canada. Otherwise, why would you be asking about Canada? Ryan Pinn says, though the upfront cost for winter tires can be high, you're doubling the life of all your weather tires, lowering your cost in the long run. That is following up from Ryan Pinn, who says bonjour. He is a driving instructor out in Nova Scotia. Yeah, Nova Scotia. I'm saying that right. I questioned myself for a blip. In any case, he knows his stuff, and I can attest that I have had my winter tires for a long time because you're only doing half the mileage a year if you drive one set of tires all the time versus two sets of tires half the time each. You effectively double the range. Don't, however, do what many people have done during the pandemic, which is drive your winter tires all year round. They become useless very quickly. They do not handle summer weather or warm weather well. They burn out fast. What do we got here? Going with the flow on... here we go. Okay, going with the flow of traffic on highway, a thing. Well, it's a thing. It's just... You want to know if it's a law? it's a driving suggestion, but it doesn't include going with the flow when everybody is speeding. It's not a law. It is a suggestion to go with the flow of traffic when you're merging and so on and traveling, and not be negatively impacting the flow of traffic by going slower. But when everybody is speeding, it is not a license or an excuse in court or in law to break the law yourself. We call that mob mentality. It's not actually cool. I don't know what Nick wants to know about, something about a Chevy. I don't know what the question is. How do we prevent slow drivers in the left lane? Well, the first thing we have to do is discuss what a slow driver is. Is that someone who's not choosing to break the law, or is that someone driving at the speed limit, which happens to be the limit of the road you're on? If the driver traveling at 100 kilometers an hour on a road that has a speed limit of 100, that's not a slow driver. That's a legal driver, and they are entitled to be in the left lane. Laws don't have instructions that only deal with law-abiding people and give way for those who are choosing to break it. If you're speeding, don't speed. What do we got here? Are ECU chip tunes illegal? ECU chip tunes that aren't illegal if they're not creating unnecessary noise, if they're not creating, issues with the emissions. It depends on what the tune is. But you're probably not going to be detected as somebody with a tune unless you are creating noise or flames or things like that. So, yeah. Ryan Pinn doubles down and says the going with the flow and the left lane hogger question is the goal is to prevent slow drivers that drive below the speed limit. Actually, you said to prevent slow drivers drive at or below the limit. Is that where? Yes, okay. Context. He's saying don't speed. It was a longer road to get there, but that's what he said. Is that safe to say, Ryan? That's what you said? Do you need to signal in a roundabout? You don't need to signal in a roundabout. You need to signal out of a roundabout. So you're signaling your intention to change direction. You're following the road in. You're yielding to the traffic already there. They should be signaling their intention when they want to leave, so you know if you can go or not go. So it's important when you're in the roundabout to signal. And we got a question here on Instagram. What do we have here? What's the average mileage a police officer puts on his or her cruiser while on regular patrol? I wish I had an answer for you. I simply don't. I have absolutely no idea because I just never paid attention. Sometimes you get a shift where your wheels don't stop moving. Sometimes you drive 10 kilometers and park it for the entire shift while you're, guarding a scene. I've done no mileage on a shift, and I've done ridiculous driving. I've driven to other jurisdictions to deliver a person, to escort a heart that needs to be taken for surgery. I've picked up doctors that are being dropped at airports that need to be rushed to a hospital to perform a life-saving procedure. I've done those situations, very different. So you can't plan your day. But this is a great opportunity for us to say policing is an amazing job with all sorts of different opportunities. And if you're interested in a career in policing, know that we are currently hiring. If you're interested, please visit www.tps.ca/careers, and then check out all the options. We have civilian jobs, we have police uniform jobs, we have uniform civilian jobs, lots of jobs. Check them out. Ryan Pinn says, I believe in Alberta, if you're entering a multi-lane roundabout from the left lane, you must signal left. It makes sense if you're entering a multi-lane. I don't think we have any multi-lanes in Ontario. I could be wrong. If you've seen a multi-lane roundabout in Ontario, please let me know. I want to go find it and see it and see what it's all about. But I've only seen single lane. In Europe, there are apparently roundabouts with lights in them, like traffic signals. They're so large. Wow. Would you pull someone over going 3 over? Unlikely, personally. It's probably something that I would assume is within the 2 to 3 kilometers of accuracy of a speedometer, but that doesn't mean you couldn't. You could technically pull someone over for 1 kilometer over. You're still speeding. This is a personal question as to whether or not I would. I'm probably looking for someone going a little faster. Now, if it's a 30 kilometer an hour zone and it's in front of a school and there's kids present, maybe I would do a 3 over. I don't know. It depends on the day, the phase of the moon. I can't I can't say for sure. I'm just seeing here that Vlad is offering to promote our channel. and they have very very flexible payments. Let me just block them. Okay, I have a 2-lane roundabout in Windsor going to the 401. I've been to England and seen their roundabouts with stoplights in them too. Moto Windsor. Cool. I have my cousin's coming from Windsor to have dinner with me on Friday, so I will discuss the roundabouts there. I want to know more. I'm not driving. I'm not doing 5 hours to drive to check out that. If there's a closer, but thank you for responding, but if there's a closer one, I'll drive out there. You know what? I'm going to put a note there. I'll do it, one of those geo-fenced reminders that next time I'm in Windsor to go find that, because I want to see it. Is it illegal to ask a cop out on a date? It's not illegal if it's anybody but me. I'm very married and don't go on dates because the person I date I'm married to, so she's the only one I date. But if you find someone else that you want to ask out, it's not illegal to ask them out. But you must also take the hint when they say no. So otherwise that becomes harassment. Worst part about being a cop, homicides? I was going to say paperwork, but you know what? There's obviously... homicides are part of the business, not my business so much as the officers who work in homicide or divisional units. But we never want to see people hurt. We never want to see people suffering. So everyone's got their worst, and I think unanimously, or I can probably speak for all cops, when we're dealing with children, abuse to children is the worst. Abuse, any kind of violence is bad. But when it involves kids, it's heartbreaking on another level, just another level. What is this? If I have an emergency, am I legally allowed to speed? I've got lots of videos on this, and all of them make people angry. And the answer is no, you're never allowed to speed. The speed limit is the limit. That's the only one that you're allowed to travel up until. You're not allowed to exceed the speed limit for any reason. You know who can? Police, fire, and ambulance. They're legally exempt from the Highway Traffic Act speed laws. They're allowed to exceed the speed limit in lawful execution of their duties. And some, like police have a blanket lawful execution of their duties. Fire and ambulance have specific criteria they have to meet before they can speed. But regardless, you can't. So thank you for your question. I appreciate it. And then we have the same question again. If I have a genuine emergency, can I speed? And I can genuinely tell you that you cannot. But I've already answered it, so I won't go too deep down into it. We have Michael who says, good morning, Sean. I got a ticket for going 105 in the left lane of the QEW when the driver behind me was going 130 to 140. I was charged with fail to keep right. What do I do? So fail to keep right. Let's see if that charge is something that I can find, because where in law is that charge? What section is that charge? Fail to keep right. I don't even have that charge showing up. So what section of the HTA were you charged under is my question. I want to know. And I have heard of the OPP laying charges in relation to people who are exceeding the speed limit and being charged for unnecessary slow driving. I don't get it. I've spoken to my sergeants and the folks in this giant building called Traffic Services, and we can't find a lawful charge delay. I do understand the reason that these charges are laid, and that is to avoid collisions when the bozos who are speeding make unsafe maneuvers around you. And in ideal conditions, we do suggest staying to the right unless you're passing. But no one should be passing if they're traveling at 100 kilometers an hour. That's the max. No one should be going beyond it. So it's an interesting conversation. But I do want to know what section of the HTA you were charged under, and we can talk about it. How are you is a question that Shanice is sending me, and the answer is, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Can I become a cop? Messi wants to know. Well, in Ontario, you need only be a permanent resident or a citizen. Obviously, citizen is a higher level, but in terms of to achieve. But if you're a permanent resident, you can apply. And we have many officers who are not citizens who have been police officers for their entire career. You don't have to ever become a citizen, which is very different because in other countries like the United States, you must be a police officer in most states to become a cop. Chase has sent me 2 volleys. I have volley open. How come I didn't hear a big old chime? I should probably... Why did that screen go off? Oh, maybe because I haven't got anything on there. Hang on. No, we lost the screen. We lost the screen. Why did it go off? All right, well, we're going to ignore the screen. I'm going to get the volley. Now, Volley is a group that we have. It's a social group, and you can jump in and ask questions there. Here's some volleys. I'll use my phone. That computer's upsetting me now that the screens are out. Why, oh, why? if I unplug and replug. See if that does anything. Ah, it did something. No, it didn't. All right. Q&A. Can I have your opinion on electric cars? Do you think they are the future? I think that was a question from yesterday. It was a question from yesterday. Let's go back here. Okay. Chase says.
Yeah, Sean, there's a lot of multi-lane roundabouts in Ontario. Like my region has them everywhere. And some of our roundabouts have stop signs instead of yield signs. So our local police service tells us if we're going left at the roundabout, we have to signal left once we enter it. And that's so people know that we're going left instead of going straight, since there's multiple lanes and lots can happen.
How do you go left at a roundabout? I am confused. But cool. Let's see here. Chase. Oh, Chase did. Oh. All right. Chase actually pulled it up, so I didn't even have to. Failed to keep right when driving at less than normal speed, 147 sub 1. $180, 0 demerit points. Any vehicle traveling upon a roadway at less than the normal speed of traffic at the time and place shall, where practicable, be driven in the right-hand lane than available for traffic or as close as practicable to the right-hand curb or edge of roadway. Interesting. 147 sub 1. Let me have a look here. 147, but there's no results here. So I see that you have 147, but when I search 147 sub 1, I get no response. Oh, because I'm in permits and plates. 147 sub 1. 147 sub 1. Failed to keep right. I want to do some research in it because it says here, road service vehicle preparing to turn left at an intersection, a private road or driveway, vehicle overtaking. So there's some exceptions to it. Well, it doesn't, but laws can't tell you that you have to get out of the way of people who are breaking the law. And this is where I have a problem, is it doesn't make sense. Because why would we have to get out of the way for people who are speeding? They shouldn't be speeding. It's kind of like a moving roadblock. Anyway, that's just me. The unnecessary slow driving wouldn't apply, but let's see. 147 sub 1, I want to read into the nitty gritty. 147. Although, I mean, my argument would be that how on earth can we be charged for driving slowly when we're not driving slowly, when we're actually in excess of the speed limit? And I would probably take the speed ticket of 5 over, which is the offense that you're guilty of. But anyway, I digress. Let's move on because I want to do some more reading, and we'll talk more about this, Michael. I think it's a great conversation. And good morning to my wife. Leo wife is watching on YouTube. We missed you. We thought you'd be here earlier, but I guess you had things to do. Chase wants Sergeant Campbell's opinion on that. Good, because when he comes back, we'll talk about it. That's a perfect opportunity. He has said he will join us, and I will text him to remind him of his commitment. What are some examples of civilian police jobs? Everything from forensic work to IT and tech support. We have people who are administrative roles throughout the police service. And what else? We have civilian uniform jobs that are special constables. They're not sworn police officers. Then there are, what else? There's tons of them. Go check it out, www.tps.ca/careers. And all of those things are going to be posted. All right. We have. Oh, I do. I have a question from a friend who needs to know about stuff and things. And then I need to send Sergeant Campbell the message saying people are requesting your opinion. And I'm going to dictate. People are requesting your opinion. Come be on the show. Should probably, doesn't always get that accurate. Come be on the show. All right. Invitation has been sent. Moving along. Hey, if you don't know who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff all the time. You should follow us. If you don't follow us because we like stuff. We like stuff in the form of questions. And the more people who follow us, the more questions we get, the more content we create. It is this thing. All we do is create content for you. This is not about us. We like you. We want to help you. We want to make sure you don't get tickets for things you didn't understand. We want to make sure you don't get into situations that could have been avoided because of minor adjustments, whether it be behavior because you didn't know about traffic safety, or you want to get your license. You need to know questions about that. We talk about all these things. But following us ensures you get to see us all the time. What gives me grounds for a citizen's arrest? Well, first of all, you have to be finds committing an indictable offense. And we won't get into the nitty-gritty, but that's the basis of citizen's arrest. You find someone committing an indictable offense. Now, obviously, you need to know what an indictable offense is, and I would really use caution before getting involved. Like, let's use an example of murder. If someone has murdered someone, yeah, it's grounds for it's indictable offense, and you saw it happen, yeah, you can act on that. But if they still are holding the weapon, or even if they're not, you might be the next victim. So be very careful. A little bit of information is very dangerous. Good day, Sarge.
Hi, Sean. How are you?
I'm doing well. Chase and the rest of the internet was hoping you would join us.
The entire internet?
The entire internet.
Oh.
And this is a perfect opportunity for us to chat about something that Michael brought up. Michael got a ticket for driving 105 in the left lane of the QEW. He was charged with failed to keep right, and I wasn't familiar with this charge.
Failed to keep right to facilitate passing.
It's failed to keep right when driving at less than normal speed.
Oh, you don't know this charge?
I don't know this charge. I should say that we've always heard people saying that they've been charged for unnecessary slow driving in the left lane, but I've not heard of anyone being charged with this, and this charge I've never paid attention to. But normal speed. It's interesting that normal speed, in his situation, people are doing 130, and he's the one who gets pulled over. We obviously constantly have this discussion.
Yes,
about
we
this.
do.
And it just feeds to the thing. I'm like, how can a law supersede another law?
So, two separate laws, my opinion. Two separate laws. So the police are out there to stop offenders. If there's an offense that you're in the left lane, that you're slowing down the flow of traffic, then that's an offense. There's also an offense if somebody is going by you at 106.
Speeding.
Two separate offenses. One's speeding, one is facilitating them to pass. You know what? I'm a strong believer that for the orderly flow of traffic, there should be a lane open for people to use as passing.
What I'm really impressed with is Europe, and I'm sorry, Michael, we're going to jump into something else now, because I'm going to do more research into the nitty-gritty of that charge, because now it's a mission. I want to know. But we'll talk about it at a later show. When we talk about, what was I going to talk about? There was something I wanted to jump into. Oh, Europe. The way that the C's part for emergency vehicles, the way that European drivers get out of the way is amazing.
Yep, absolutely.
And here, not so much.
Absolutely.
Because we're often asked, why do police go without activating, like go above the speed limit without their lights and sirens on? And it's because people don't know what to do when the lights go on.
Depending on the situation, Sean, I can get somewhere much faster without putting the lights and sirens on, just by, being able to pass somebody on the left-hand side. And it is safer. People do some really, really crazy, stupid things when there's an emergency vehicle behind them. I don't know how many people have had, an emergency vehicle behind them, and all of a sudden your heart starts to beat a little bit more. Is it me? Did I do something? What do I do? I've had terrible stuff. I've had people come to a complete stop
In the middle of the road.
on the 401.
Oh my!
The multi-lane highway in the left lane, because I need to get somewhere. I'm going to help somebody. It's an emergency situation, and they don't know what to do.
So those lights and siren can be a godsend in times, and can be a very scary situation in others. So excellent conversation about that. Emergency services, if you see them and they're speeding, they're not breaking the rules, because they're entitled to go above the speed limit during the lawful execution of their duties. And very often it's because it's the safest way to go. I acknowledge that Chase asked me to ask you a question that he asked yesterday, which you saw backwards when you were, or not yesterday, 2 days ago when you weren't here.
Yes.
So, But I want to come back to this, or come back to that and start with this. Can I switch my home country license to the G? It depends on what your home country is. Some countries have an agreement and you can make an exchange. Like the UK, I believe, is one of them. The United States is another. If you are from a country that is not on a list, you may have different requirements. You may have to start at a G2. You may have to start at a G1. You might be able to skip the time frame, but you still have to do the tests. Like, it really depends on you and the country from which you are coming. So there is a process. Contact drivetest.ca for more information. They can help you with that. Now, back to Chase's question for Sergeant Campbell. By the way, this is Sergeant Campbell. He is a media relations officer, a towing and pound sergeant, a man of many talents who does off-road stuff that I don't do. He knows stuff. Together, we're both half-wits. Together, we have a full complement.
Almost have a wit. Almost.
And we have some dad jokes, which
Yes.
I bought dad jokes. I actually invested in this. So after we get through some questions, I'll do some dad jokes from the box. The question was that backwards thing. So you're in a right turn lane, you're approaching an intersection, and on the road that you're turning into, the curb lane is blocked. Can you make a right turn on red at that lane in that situation?
Into the second lane.
Into the second lane because
Technically, no, you cannot.
so can you make a right turn at all?
Technically, no, you cannot. If it's completely blocked, there's no space at all that you can enter the lane properly and then make a safe lane change into.
That's the
other-
scenario. It's a completely closed lane. Would that not become the new curb lane? Potentially, maybe.
By the letter of the law, no, you can make the turn, but common sense, yes, you could do that.
So it's unlikely that it would be enforced, but it could be if you take the letter of the law without any interpretation.
But
then it would be
you'd
wrong.
have to see the whole intersection. Was that lane closed before the intersection? Is there any expectation of traffic that is going to be traveling in that? There's no law against changing lanes within an intersection, although it's not advised. But somebody could be coming
Yes.
through that intersection in that lane that you're actively wanting to go
At the end
into.
of the day, you're responsible for ensuring that you can make your turn safely. That is the highest.
No matter what.
Yeah, regardless of what you're doing. Okay, just because I have a dad joke here, just because pausing for dad jokes is important, and I have not shuffled these. I just unsealed the box. This is probably going to be inappropriate. I don't know. I don't even get this.
Well, let's have a look.
I've just been diagnosed as colorblind. It certainly has come out of the purple. I don't get it.
As opposed to come out of the blue because he can't tell the difference between colors. Oh, come on, Dad.
That's terrible. This box didn't say bad dad jokes. It said dad jokes.
I liked it. I liked it.
It said the perfect gift for embarrassing dads. I didn't like this one. I
like
I
it.
paid $6, and that's I'm not feeling it yet. Okay. Will lane splitting be legal? It's not currently legal. I don't have any expectations. Although there's a movement and a group who want to make it legal, I don't think it will be. Now, lane splitting, for those who have no idea what I'm talking about, is the act of driving between two lanes. So a motorcycle operator, a bicycle, or a cyclist riding in between two cars that are properly nestled in their lanes, that person is splitting the lane. It's careless driving, could be dangerous driving, could be stunt driving. All depends on the situation.
Absolutely. And you know what? When you're a more vulnerable road user when you're on a motorcycle or a bicycle. People are not expecting you to be going in between lanes. If I'm driving along and there's another vehicle beside me, I'm not expecting that vehicle to move into my lane. But when there's an opening, maybe I want to pull in behind them. Maybe I want to change lanes. To have that third vehicle coming up in the middle, usually at a higher speed, it can just end in disaster. Sometimes bicyclists are really hard to see, especially in your rearview mirror.
Cyclists are motorcycles are one thing. You see motorcycles traveling at ridiculous speed in between cars as though there was nothing. They're just driving any which way they want. Those people are generally stunt driving. They're exceeding the speed limit, and speed differential is a huge issue. If people are traveling at the speed limit and you're going to lane split, likely because you want to go faster than them, you're speeding and progressing through. Now, some places like California allow lane splitting, and it's legal, and there are some caveats. They say it's unsafe. They say it's dangerous. They say you should have no more than a certain differential speed gap between you and the other drivers. In high traffic areas where traffic's doing, I don't know, a slow crawl or standstill, you wouldn't want to travel at speed. You want to travel roll through slowly where it's legal. It's not legal here. I don't see it changing. I think we also have narrower lanes, but I don't know that to be true or certain.
3.5 meters is
Here.
standard lane here.
But I
don't know what
I
it
got
is,
the
though.
feeling like they were bigger there. Just a feeling.
Everything's bigger in California, apparently.
No, it's Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas. If you move to another province, does the ticket carry over? My understanding is yes, it does. You get the whole kit and caboodle. Would they be convenient? I've got a suspended license. I'm going to go reset by moving out and moving back in.
So, specifically to suspended licenses, you cannot drive under the jurisdiction of another driver's license while you're suspended in Ontario. So if you move out of Ontario and you're suspended here and you move to New Brunswick, say, and you're driving on a New Brunswick driver's license, that's fine. You can do that in New Brunswick. As soon as you come back to Ontario, guess what? We got you.
I would think it would be unlikely that New Brunswick could issue you a license if you were suspended here.
I would say it was unlikely too.
But it happens. Things happen.
Yeah.
Let's see here. My temporary sticker ends 30th. Is that morning or night? If your sticker ends, it's the end of that day, is my understanding. The end of business day that day, or midnight that day.
Yes, I believe so.
So back in the day of, like, when you talk about renewed license plates are at the end of day your birthday. If it's a personal vehicle, end of day, end of month for a commercial vehicle that's registered as a business. It's not the birthday. But when you're talking about temporary stickers, that's 10 days.
Yep.
And it should be the end of the 10-day period. So
Yep.
I would say midnight.
I agree. And if you have passed your 10 days on your temporary sticker, and really all it is a trip permit, at that point, although you've got license plates issued that are not valid anymore, guess what? We take your license plates because you haven't had
Safety.
You haven't done the safety. You haven't done what is legally, lawfully allowed under this exemption to be able to operate on the road. So guess what? You don't operate on the road anymore.
There is only one reason to get a temporary sticker. That's to get that vehicle to the mechanics to get a safety, and that's it.
Right.
And if you are doing something outside of that, you aren't lawfully driving. Ryder asked me a question. It could be the same question for you, and I know he's trying to be hurtful. He may just be trying to be funny, because it is funny. How do you get such a clean shave on your forehead?
Hey.
But bump. That's good. That's good. If it is meant with malice, no, we can't. We're laughing too hard to be hurt. When will speed limits be updated to 120? I don't think there's much of an incentive to move up. Our general goal is to move things down slower, because we acknowledge that the lower speeds both reduce the chances of collision and reduce the severity of injury and damage when it's slower.
We have had some areas on the 400 series highways where it has been increased up to 110.
Yes, in small areas, like 16-kilometer stretches, like and that was after it was established that only in those areas it was safe.
And it's a pilot project to see what the increase, what the decrease is. You know what? Our government isn't against speeding. Our government is for being safe, making it safer.
Yes. Although I appreciate that people want to go faster because they think they're going to get somewhere faster. And generally speaking, that doesn't work. You go a little bit faster, and then you hit the brakes, and then you slow down. You end up burning a lot more gas. That's something that for sure.
I giggle at people that, go flying past me and they're weaving in and out of the traffic, and then, a couple of miles down the road, you come up beside them and go, hey, look, remember me? We're both here at the same time.
Ryan Pinn, his cousin's kid, got his learner's permit at 14 years old in Saskatchewan, did all his driver's education in Saskatchewan, then came to Nova Scotia, and wasn't until he was on his test that the examiner realized he was too young. If you have a learner's permit at 14 and you come to Ontario, you are not legally permitted to drive until you are 16, even if you were licensed somewhere else at a younger age, which many people don't realize.
Right, and a learner's permit from province to province is not
It's not
a
valid.
license.
Yeah.
It's not a license.
A G2 you can drive anywhere. A G1 is a learner's permit. It's only valid in the province of its issuance. You can't use it anywhere else, and people are doing a lot of things that they shouldn't be doing. You're not covered under insurance if you're not properly licensed and following the rules.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would hate to be learning to drive in mom's car, and then mom can't get to work anymore because you wrote it off as a learner. But because you were a learner in another province, that car doesn't get paid for. That's a recipe for disaster. Know the rules before you do. Know stuff before you do stuff, so you don't get charged with stuff, I like to say. Do we do another dad joke?
All right, let's see it.
Okay. Is this pool safe for diving? It depends. You're kind of groaners.
You know what though? That's our line.
It depends. So it depends.
Yes.
I say yes. I need a box of depends apparently, because once I start saying depends, it doesn't stop.
Well, it depends.
Yeah. Use it. We have to put a tablecloth down, and I have one. It says traffic services. It's a very fancy one. Someone is alleging that Brampton has higher than average traffic violations. In fact, they're saying Brampton is a traffic violation capital of somewhere because they didn't complete their sentence. But I don't know if that's true. I've never looked at stats, but I've heard the allegation before. I don't know if that's true.
You know what? Another jurisdiction. Traffic pattern is definitely different in Brampton. Lots of commercial motor vehicles in Brampton because of the railways and the airport. So traffic could be different.
Interesting. What is the fine for crossing over an HOV lane when not? And this is not complete. So under the HTA, there is an improper use, and there's also a sign that says "Do not cross the line." I would say you could be charged with either. If you're passing in the lane, well, no, if you're just crossing it when you don't have enough people, it would be crossing the line. That's disobey sign, because it's a sign designating that is not to cross.
And the reason they set out areas for you to merge in, merge out is because of, once again, the speed differential.
Mm-hmm.
So if the flow of traffic is very, very slow and the HOV lane is open, what it's meant to be, and all of a sudden you're moving into that lane with a car coming up with a greater speed differential, could be careless. You pull in front of them, cause a collision,
That's different. That's the catalyst to a collision, but the actual crossing the line, I think, is disobey sign. And if you're using it as a passing lane, which I see all the time, that is misuse of the HOV, and that's another fine, another offense. And if you do it all at the same time, you get a bunch of tickets. And I would totally lay all the charges. Now that we don't police a highway that has an HOV lane. We can, but we don't. It's not ours. We have a bus lane, a diamond lane.
No, we have on our secondary roads we have
True HOV or
HOV lanes. Yep.
I think those are diamond designated. They don't fall under the HOV category.
On our highways it is, but secondary roads like Eglinton, there's certain sections.
But is that HOV? I thought that was just diamond designate, and I think it falls under a bylaw instead of the HOV.
It is a bylaw, but you know what?
Same but different.
Yeah, it depends.
It depends. Brampton has the highest insurance, according to Akela Draconis, and he thinks that means that statistically they would be the highest.
Could be.
But I've never looked at that mill rate sheet. I got to focus my googly goose here.
So, Sean, just to follow up on the HOV lane, improper use of a high occupancy vehicle lane. The definition of it is no person shall drive a motor vehicle in a high occupancy vehicle lane or enter or exit a high occupancy vehicle lane except in accordance with the section and the regulations made under it. So, if the regulations say you cannot enter or exit
except it doesn't on
a double white line, there you go.
So it could be more than just the sign. It could be just because we had the discussion earlier. I was operating under the impression that it was simply the sign and it would be disobey sign. And someone said, well, not all the signs are 150 meters apart, which means it's covered under there.
Yep.
Okay, we learned something today.
3 points.
3 demerit points. That'd be a bad day at the office too. I don't think any ticket is a good day at the office.
No, if you get a ticket, you're doing something wrong.
Oh, here's one that I've not looked up because it's bicycle and I haven't looked at it as long. Josh wants to know how much is a ticket for no lights on a bike? I would assume it's $110 because that seems to be the go-to everything, or $60. What are we going to put bets in?
I think it'd be 110. Let me have a quick look.
Okay. Someone wants to know if I would arrest my spouse if they broke the law. My spouse would kill me if they broke the law and I arrested them. Actually, it was funny. Somebody went and asked or was upset because our acting superintendent said he wouldn't give his wife a ticket. Listen, if my wife did something, because she doesn't drive, so I can't give her any Highway Traffic Act offenses. But if she went and killed somebody, we got problems. We got big problems. But yeah, would I arrest someone if they broke the law and they were family? Yeah, I would. Sorry, honey.
And you know what? You wouldn't want to be involved in that anyways because
you'd ruin the case.
Right. You'd want a prosecution that was non-biased.
Right.
And you can't be non-biased against your wife.
Right. So maybe that's the best defense.
You could be biased the other way as well. And
some husbands might arrest their spouses on purpose.
Under the Highway Traffic Act, Sean, Section 62, improper bicycle lighting is a $110 fine.
Boom.
Plus, I do believe there's a bylaw in Toronto as well.
Additional.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's someone who says, I've gotten 5 warnings so far. I love Toronto cops. What are you getting warnings for? And that's not okay. Warnings are supposed to be there to warn you once, maybe, depending on the charge. if you got 5 warnings, you need to change your driving because obviously you're not learning from those warnings. And
You obviously have not met me.
or me on the road.
You know what? If I see you've got a warning for something,
There's none of a second.
no.
It's a one-shot deal. Now the officer might be giving verbal warnings, and then there's no tracking of it. At which point, then you might be getting away with that, and that's still not okay. Because when I would issue a warning, it was a documented warning, so the next person would know that a warning was given, and no further warnings would be issued. What's so special about 15 years? Lucy wants to know. I don't know what we're talking about, Lucy. 15 years for what? Did we say something about 15? I don't remember saying anything about 15 years. So I need to know the context of your question. Part 1, can I call the cops on a reckless driver if, Part 2, I'm driving myself? So under the HTA, there is an exemption for an emergency. If someone, when you say reckless, if that's an unsafe emergency, that person's going to kill someone, you think they might be impaired, a medical emergency, but there's immediate risk of danger or harm to another person, yourself, themselves, yeah, you can call 911, and when you call emergency services, you're actually exempt from the law that says you can't use your phone. That being said, if you then become the dangerous driver, the careless driver, you too could be charged. If you're all over the road because you're calling 911, that's a problem. Yes, you're allowed, and be very careful. It doesn't. We still acknowledge that use of that device is still a risk to safety. So don't become part of the problem. Okay, just gotta clear that question off the screen. What happens if you get caught driving with a G1? I'm assuming you mean unaccompanied. And there is a video that just got like 110,000 views that's on our channel, so check it out afterwards. But the very quick answer is you are going to get charged if you're caught with G1 drive unaccompanied. It's $110. You're going to get a 30-day suspension on your first conviction, a 90-day on your second, and then on your third you get kicked out of the program, which means you have to start all over again. If you were 8 months into the process and you were about to take your G2 test to get your G2, well, now you're back at 0 and you have to wait another 8 to 12 months depending on what you have for experience and training. It's not worth it. You're not an insured driver because you're not a licensed driver. You have to be supervised by a qualifying G that is sober and has 4 years experience. That means they have had their G and G2 combination for at least 4 years, have 4 dots on the driver's license. Not, I did some math in my head and I think about it, because it discounts any suspensions or any time that you were in trouble as a driver, so you wouldn't be qualified if you had a suspension in the middle of that.
Yeah, the ministry determines when you're eligible to be a proper instructing driver. And a G1 is only there for the purpose of learning how to drive. Yeah. It's not to drive to the store.
Right. So if you got into a collision while driving to the store, you're not insured. And that is going to take that car out of the game because no one's paying for it. Or maybe your allowance will cover it.
And you know what? Even worse, if you hurt somebody, guess what? Mom or dad's probably losing their house.
Yes, because there's no coverage. Like you're going to get sued. You're not protected.
Yep, absolutely.
And yeah, it's so sad. It's so sad. Don't do silly things to put yourself in jeopardy. You know, protect your family. Do the right thing. You know what? Order Uber Eats or whatever it is, because there's so many options. What are the other companies? There's a million delivery services, or pizza. Like, order some food. There's no excuse to go out and get in a car.
Or if you got to be somewhere,
take a cab.
Take an Uber.
Take an Uber.
Take a Lyft. Take a TTC.
Oh, the rocket, the red rocket.
Yes.
Does anyone call it the rocket still, or is it sort of the slow missile? I don't know. Is there something slower than rockets? I don't think it goes that fast. I think nothing goes fast.
I think it used to be the rocket. I don't think it's a rocket anymore.
What is this? If someone runs a red light and I have him on a dash cam, should I call 911? Running a red light is not an emergency call. If it's in conjunction with other dangerous behavior and you think it's an immediate risk to public safety, call. But just for running the red light, I wouldn't call 911. That's not an emergency.
But you know what? With evidence of that, you can make a complaint with Toronto Police.
Yes.
If it happens in the city of Toronto, we will follow up with it. And if we can identify the driver at the time, then we can issue.
Yes, and you can do that online at tps.ca. It's a website link called the, what is it called? It's called the Citizen Online Entry Tool, or CORE. And you can do that online. Now, you can't upload the video directly, but you can send us a link to YouTube or Dropbox or what have you, and you can do it. And we get tons of these all the time, and whenever we're in a position to lay charges based on that information, we do. Okay, cameras should stay on full shift honesty. Do you mean like this camera? Like we should always be on here? That would be uncomfortable. What if I have to do some exercise? No, stretch. That'd be weird. I think you mean dash cams. I think you mean body-worn cameras. And no, I don't think that there's. I haven't taken the training because I don't wear a body camera because I'm not on the road. But there's very specific requirements of when you can turn them on, when you can turn them off. Right? Like you don't want to be recording someone going to the bathroom.
Yeah, we have to spend an awful lot of time redacting videos that we're using as evidence, personal identifiers, compromising situations, things like that have to be redacted out. So there is justification for turning it off in certain circumstances. But every police officer in Toronto gets their videos reviewed regularly by a supervisor. They have to justify what they're doing and why they're doing it. If they cannot justify it, then we get in trouble. We get documented.
So if you had a call and you didn't activate your camera, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If so you'll be called into question regardless of what you do. What should I do on a motorcycle if I get struck at a red light? Hopefully you can call an ambulance. That's going to hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, take care of. I mean, the first thing is get help. I was struck approaching a red light, and that was not fun. But I was thrown from my motorcycle. I was, waiting for ambulance and fire, and you don't take your helmet off and you wait. It depends on the situation. Every motorcycle collision is going to be an independent and different situation.
A motorcycle collision is no different from other motor vehicle collisions like a car. The reporting is just the same. Medical assistance may be or may not be required. More likely, though, because you're a little bit more vulnerable than somebody in a car.
Yes, I agree. You have to assess yourself. I got thrown I had a good launch, and I was bleeding, and I could feel the wetness on my leg because of the blood. I wasn't moving, and when people said, "Hey, let me take your helmet off," I'm like, "No, I'm good. We're going to wait for paramedics, and then we'll go one step at a time." So don't be in a rush. Obviously, you have to assess, like if you have to drag yourself off the road because things come in and you want to protect you. Like it's such a dynamic. Collisions are a dynamic situation, and you have to assess it as best you can.
So, just like the swimming pool. It depends.
It depends. Speaking of which, that joke. Did you hear about the guy who invented the knock-knock joke?
Who's there?
He won the Nobel Prize.
Ding, ding.
All right. Caught with studded winter tires, what happens?
Studded winter tires are allowed in the province of Ontario. If they're being operated in a area that is allowed.
So if you're registered and live in Northern Ontario, there's a number of places you're allowed to have them on your vehicle, and you can temporarily visit areas where it's not allowed, but only temporarily. There's an expiry on that. So if you're just passing through, you can have them, but you have to live and be registered in that region that's permitted. And there's a list of places.
You know what? Studs do damage the roadways. There's no doubt about it. But they also give you better traction.
In certain conditions, yeah.
In certain conditions. If you're in somewhere in, relatively southern Ontario, and you've seen snowmobile crossing signs, and you see a little bit of the road that's kind of chewed up there, that's because snowmobiles have studs in the track, and when it goes across the road, it does damage the roadway. So vehicle tires, same thing.
It's no good.
It's no good.
But it's no good. It's snow. Okay. Scrolling back here, we've got signaling out of a parking lot onto a public road. Is it required? If you're changing the directions, if you're signaling the intention to move, change anything out of the norm, you must stop before entering the roadway, before you cross the sidewalk and enter the roadway, and you must signal because you're indicating where you're going. You could be going in either of one of two directions in most cases.
You don't have to signal in a parking lot. It's a courteous thing to do.
In the parking lot, exiting.
But if you're leaving a parking lot and entering a roadway, and the roadway doesn't mean the tarmac that you're on. Roadways, the highway extends farther than what you think. So as soon as you are crossing that line, usually the sidewalk is a good indicator. You have to use your signals to signal your intention, know what you plan to do.
Apparently, it's Jace's birthday.
Happy birthday!
Someone wished Vehicle Valley, who is, by the way, Jace, on our private little group there on Volley, where it's private until you join, then you're part of the private. So yeah, it's happy birthday to you. He's a regular viewer, and something to note is that it's now 10 o'clock. That went by really quickly.
Well, it's just because I was here.
That must have been what it is. Big Jeff Fresh showed up for 10 o'clock and didn't see the memo that we were going to start at 9 today.
Oh, Big
He
Jeff.
missed the show. Dude. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. We're shutting it down. And the reason we started early today is there's a meeting that I have to attend. It's taking place at 10, or it's actually taking place after 10, but I have to help prep and set up. So that's going to happen now. I am not here tomorrow. I am not here Friday. I will, however, be back on Monday, which is December. I'm going to be off for the rest of the month.
There you go. I will be here. I just won't be on.
Yes. But you know what you can do is get into Volley, and as best I can, I will pop in, say hello, and see what's up. If I can answer questions, I will. It's non-linear communication. You can go onto the link tree, or you can visit trafficcop.ca. There's a big old button that says "Ask Me a Question" on Volley. And you know what? We got a lot of people who show up a lot, and they answer questions too, because it's a community, and you can be part of that community. So I'm going to say goodbye. I'd love to keep chatting, but there's stuff to do, things to do. Do we do one last joke, dad joke, before we go? They're so bad, and yet I want to read them. And I don't want to read them unless I'm with you. I want, like together. It's a together thing. And I mean with you, all of you. By the way, if you don't follow us because you get notified when we go live, and you get to see other content as well. Why did the coffee file a police report?
I got this one. I got it. Let me guess. It was mugged?
He got mugged. At least it was a police one, and this is random. I have not gone through this deck. We have. Stay safe, and remember, don't have a good day. Have a great day from Michaela. And, Big Jeff Fresh says, Michaela says to Jeff, listen on replay. It was a good and different set of questions. Yes, very often I'm asked, how do you do this? Because very often we have the same questions all the time, which means...
Tint your windows, lower your car, tint your taillights.
There's a lot of repetition, but you know what? It's good. And it's something that if you are interested and we're not here, go and check out our YouTube page. We have all of these episodes archived there and available for replay. And we have a podcast. And you know what? I hope to get our next episode 15, ready to go with the head injury, brain injury, head injury. I'm making a boo-boo now. I'm not referring to them properly, but I think it's brain injury group, and they have some great stuff. But I did not finish editing, and I don't have time to edit before I go away. So I might pick an old episode to replay, like something from like tomorrow a year ago, because I have some good stuff. We used to have a different guest every day, so I've got a pool of stuff. We might pick one and just put it up.
Did you have hair back then?
No.
Oh.
Well, actually, I don't know. I'm like a chia pet. It comes and it goes. All right. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. And for those who choose to jump onto Volley, I will see you there. And if I don't see you on Volley, I'll see you here on Monday. Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed, and watch your driving. Don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get freed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.